Show, which coaches and influencers together to discuss cutting-edge topics for the world of relationships, culture, business, and spirituality. Here's your host, Max Antonetta Jones.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Carol's Courage to Confidence segment of the Intuitive Entrepreneur Show, where we say if you have a little bit of courage, and I know you do, and you hire one of us great coaches here on this show, we're going to very quickly get you into the action steps that you get to take to get you unstuck and get you from where you are to where you really want to be. Now, those of you who follow me know I'm your weather girl. So when you chime in, let me know where you're chiming in from and what the weather's like where you are. Now, my good friend Jeff, y'all might know Jeff because he's worked with Max before. About 30 minutes ago, he goes, I feel that you're ungrounded today, Carol. Like he's in Detroit and I'm in Florida. And I go, really? And he goes, yeah, go out and put your hand on a tree. I'm like, it's 99 degrees outside. And he goes, I know it's hot. Do it anyway. Oh, I'm chiming in from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and it is hot as hell here, but it's not raining today. I'm so excited to have our guest, Christian Jones. Christian, tell us who you are in the world, what you do, but first, tell us where you're chiming in from and what the weather's like where you are.
Yeah, so I am actually in beautiful Western South Dakota currently. My husband's in the Air Force, so that's just where they put us and landed us for 6 years. It is beautiful and finally warm. It's a little humid, but not as humid as Florida for sure. And it's funny that he said that you were ungrounded because that's the crystal that I chose intuitively was a grounding crystal. So there we have it. So I am a spiritual business coach for healers and intuitive quantum healer myself.
So I'm excited because actually there were supposed to be two spiritual coaches on today. And I thought, what are the odds that they signed up on the same day, not knowing each other, but the other person hasn't shown up. But I want to start off by this before we jump into exactly what you do and how you do it. Are you familiar with this book, Until Today?
No, I am not.
It's by Iyanla Vanzant. Do you know who she is?
Mm-mm.
You're a lot younger than me. So do you remember the Oprah Winfrey Show?
Of course, yes.
Iyanla Vanzant was her spiritual advisor. Do you remember her on the show?
No,
Yeah.
I don't.
And then she has her own show on the Oprah Network. It's Iyanla, 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 and it's Vanzant, Vanzant. And she's written several books, but this one, I happen to do Carol's Courage to Confidence show on my page on Mondays. And my tribe loves when I work from this book, and I tie it into business and life coaching and wisdom, that kind of thing. And so one of the things that she talks about oftentimes, you know what? I'm just going to pull it up. We're going to pull it today.
Let's do it.
This is a daily.
Okay.
And I've probably had this book for 15 years. Now, maybe only 2 years did I do it 365 days in a row and never miss a day. But what's really cool is you can pick it up, and because we grow and we're different, you can read the same thing and be at a different place. So every month has a theme. I bet you can use this. Every month has a theme. This month's theme is it's about understanding. I will gain more understanding when I realize. And then it has a ... and every day has a lesson. So today's lesson is, you're not going to believe it because you're talking about grounding. I must maintain a power line into the power source.
Of course it's that, because nothing else would make sense.
Is it? That is weird. I mean, Jeff says that to me, and I said, I went to a BNI today and I was just not 100%. I don't know what happened. I'm always on it. I was just not on. And what I love people, I love to network, and I'm always on. And that's when Jeff goes, I feel some real ungroundedness. I'm like, what? Like you're in Detroit. He says, I don't care how hot it is, go touch a tree. And then you show up and you have a grounding crystal. Now, I don't understand a lot about crystals. I would love for you to delve into that. And then talk about when you say spiritual coach, does that differ from Christian coach in your world? What does that mean exactly? And then we might jump in and read a little bit about what she has to say.
Yeah. So let's start with crystals. Each crystal I'm definitely not an expert by any means. I'm just an enthusiast enthusiasts, I feel. But each crystal has a specific vibration, a specific frequency. And the more you tap into this, there are some times where I can actually, if I'm like really present and still, I can actually feel or see the vibration of some of the crystals. But when we talk about the chakras and, each chakra represents something different. So for me, well, in specific, like today I chose the root chakra, which is grounding. And I was like, I feel like there's some ungrounding energy here. Like, I don't know what it was. And I thought it was because my kids were freaking out downstairs. They're being boys and siblings and yelling at each other. I'm like, listen here. And I was like, oh, I don't know what this is, but I feel really called to this grounding crystal, even though I've been outside and I feel good. So I must have been tapping into what you had going on. So we're bringing this energy in with, so yeah, if you're feeling like really ungrounded, you can tap into like red or black crystals are really great. They're really great protection stones as well. So if you want to protect your energy when you're out and about or when you're on social media or anything like that, those are really great specific colors for that. There's an abundance of information online on different crystals, and even just going to like a metaphysical store or a crystal shop and just playing with them is a lot of fun too. And just really trusting your intuition. So sometimes I'll do that and then I'll like go Google spiritual meaning of whatever crystal it was that I picked up. And I'm like, whoa, I actually need that right now. So it's really cool. So yeah, when I say spiritual business coach, for me, that is more in the realm of like spirituality versus religion. So it's separate from like organized religion like Christian. So for me, this looks like a holistic approach and an energetic. So I combine what I call the trifecta, but also I don't know if I don't even know if this is actually a word, but I was like, the other day I was like, quadfecta, because it's mindset, because I believe even though we're spiritual beings having this human experience, for me, that's my belief. We also have to understand we need to be grounded. Like we need to like know that our minds are working for us and we're having this human experience too. So I include mindset, energetics, and this includes also healing, and then also like my spiritual gifts and abilities as well into my coaching practice.
So when you go pick up a crystal, there's all kind of things we can unpack here. When you go pick up a crystal, does it actually feel different in your hand?
It can, yeah. Yeah. Really? If you're like really tuned in and you're just like, I mean, sometimes we overcomplicate a lot of things. And so it's like, if you're really tuned in, you can definitely be like, oh, I actually can feel this one, or something within you may shift. And it could be very subtle. But you're like, oh, I don't know why, but I really feel like I need this one.
I'm going to ask you a tough question because this came up in a discussion I had with someone else the other day, and I had to really ponder it. So we're spiritual beings in a physical body. So if you had a client who said to you, my spirit doesn't want to be in this body anymore, how would you, from a spiritual coach mindset, how would you help that client?
Yeah. So first things first, I want to know how their mental well-being is. I mean, that is above everything. And can you get support right now where you are too? So that's
support. I'm sorry to interrupt. Support outside of you. You mean like a therapist?
Yeah. Or like seeing if there's something else that's coming up that they need immediate action that I can't help from, being across the world. Right. And then from like my aspect, what we do is we look at a couple different things. One, when it comes to a lot of healers, light workers that I work with, they oftentimes have a hard time settling into this 3D experience. Like they start playing in higher realms and energy and doing energy work and things like that. And they have a really hard time anchoring into their body. And so if they're saying to me, I'm having a really hard time like anchoring into this 3D experience, I want to know what's coming up for them and why they're feeling like this. And then from there, it's really tailored to their own experience. We're going to look at the mindset aspect because we are in this 3D human body. And I want to do some clearing in a mindset aspect. And then also on an energetic and a spiritual aspect, I want to do some like spiritual, my hands are vibrating as we're talking. I want to do like some energetic work for them to clear out these low frequencies. And then give them some really fun activities. So like for some of these that would look like the one that is coming to mind is like grounding, being present in the body, like looking around and like noticing how cool this planet actually is. Like, I know there's a lot of like really crappy things going on, but this planet is really cool. And it is actually very beautiful. And like noticing like the butterflies playing, or I'm looking outside right now and it's a little bit windy as it always is in South Dakota, but it's like the trees, like how the trees are dancing on the branch, and just really allowing yourself to be so present and expressing gratitude for where you are right now is a really great like grounding into this experience as a human as well.
So what does that mean for you when you said your hands were vibrating?
So I am like I'm certified in several different kinds of like energy healing, Reiki, whatever. But I also channel my own healing energy. And so oftentimes like when I'm like vibrating higher, I'm having like really activating conversations, my hands will vibrate.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So just since COVID, since going online and me getting introduced to new people, I'm going to say, I mean, I had never heard of anything about, energy workers or light workers or any of that. It was all foreign. And so I've had people say to me, no, you're a light worker because you said this or you did this. And like, I have no clue. So I'm going to get you to explain something to me. So last week, I'm talking with this lady that I've never met before. We chatted on a networking event. So we set up this call, and to make a long story short, she says, here's my link, book a free call with me. I cleared some stuff and you're going to get a download, and I want to know what it is. I'm like, I haven't booked the call because I don't know what a download is. I don't know how I'm going to know if I get one. And she told me not to call her till after I got a download. So I haven't called. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, of course. Like, how are you supposed to know when you're not in the, like, and if you're not introduced or like actually living this world as your experience, right? Of course, that makes sense. So a download with this can feel like it can show up in several different ways. This can be like an aha moment, synchronicity, a thought popping in. You're like, holy cow, where did that come from?
Okay.
Or, oh, that I don't feel like that was my own thought. Sometimes it can be subtle. Sometimes it's really loud. Maybe you'll get like you'll get a visual of something. It's almost like kind of looks like a flashback or like you're daydreaming or whatever, but it's like a visual of something. Maybe it's a next step.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's interesting the way you framed it, because you can see on my title, I'm known as the Queen of Reframe. And so I teach and train on empowering questions, how to get the answers that you really want. And one of the things I say about empowering questions is they create Oprah aha moments.
Yeah.
Right? Because they take the emotion and the judgment out of the conversation, and they open the door to limitless possibilities. So that when you said it like that, that connects with me.
Yeah. I love that.
And when you said like, oh, I've never had that thought before. And how I frame that up is, I keep saying my next book, but I haven't started it yet. My next book is going to be called You Can't Read the Label When You're Inside a Jar. And we're all in a jar, right?
Ooh.
And so these empowering questions allow you to bring the awareness into the answers are right outside your jar. It's about bringing them into your jar. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that is such a good like visual. And especially when you put your hands up, I'm like, no, of course you can't read the label. Oh my gosh, this could go so many places. That's cool.
Yeah. Of course, my buddy Jeff says, that's what I want for my birthday. I said, what? He goes, your book. When's your birthday? September. Oh, dude, you're kidding.
2024, please. Now the universe is on notice and we're going to do it.
I'm like, my birthday's in September too. I'll call you. So tell me one of the things you absolutely love about what you do. What fills you up?
Yeah. The thing that really lights me up the most is helping women, healers, light workers, soulpreneurs strip away the beliefs that are not theirs. Fears, limiting beliefs, imposter syndrome, all of these things that are weighing them down, unshackling themselves from the societal beliefs and everything that everybody said they need to be so they can liberate themselves and step into their power. When this happens, it affects not just them. It is a ripple effect of impacting their friends and family, their clients. They're now feeling good and empowered to start their own business or do the next launch or write the book. And so that's what really lights me up when I like those aha moments that someone has, or that feeling of empowering, like, yeah, it is safe for me to be seen and heard. And then they go do the thing.
I'm thinking this whole day was just destined.
Yeah.
From the whole Jeff thing to your crystal thing to you, because what lights you up is similar to what lights me up about my clients. We just do things very differently.
Yeah.
We could talk, you and I could talk about collaborating, because one of the things I'm known to say is I help women know their value, own their power, and advocate for themselves. So they rise up and become the lioness leaders they were created to be.
Can I show you something?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I got that tattoo a week ago. The lioness.
Nobody's going to believe this show. I don't believe this show.
They're gonna be like, what is happening? We don't know.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
What inspired you to get that?
So actually, my husband and I have always wanted tattoos together. But I'm not a big fan of like names or dates or anything like that. I really love meanings. And there's nothing against that. It's just a personal choice.
Sure.
And so we were kind of like looking at ideas and brainstorming. And finally, we were like, this is what it needs to be. And so mine has an arrow down because he keeps me grounded. And his has the arrow up because I keep him wild and free. But his is a lion, so the male, and they're the exact same size. And if you put them together, they're symmetrical. So like the king and queen energy, that lion, lioness, that wild and free yet grounded energy.
Wow. How long did it take? How long did it take for the artist to do that?
He drew it up in about 30 minutes, and then each of our sessions were 2 hours.
Did it hurt?
The shading hurt the most. Like the first level of shading, I was like, well, that doesn't feel awesome, but I'm good. And then he kept going over it. And then he went over it again, and I was like closing my eyes and breathing. I was like, this is not forever.
It's amazing how breathing helps us get through stuff, right?
Yes, it absolutely does.
Last summer, I was at a hand specialist and in a ton of pain. Anyway, so he takes x-rays and he said, you have Bosselier's arthritis in your thumb. And he reaches down and he touches it, and I like almost come out of my chair, right? So long story short, he says, I'm going to give you an injection of cortisone. Now, he doesn't numb anything, and he bends my thumb and puts the needle right into the joint.
Oof.
And I literally turned my head and I'm like, and he's like, are you okay? I'm like, I never had a baby, but I think I am. OMG. And then I had what's called cortisone flare, which means it gets way worse before it gets better.
Oh,
yeah.
That's not awesome.
No. So yeah, that's something, but it's amazing how we use breathing, right? To get through that pain. You were breathing, I was breathing, just something to focus on something else.
Yeah. And it's the most natural thing we do as humans, and we forget to do it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I am back in 2016. There's another book that I read called The Other F Word, How to Forgive Anyone in 7 Days.
Wow.
And written by Juliana Erickson. She's a breathworks coach. And guess who she was actually trained by? Ayanna Van Zandt, one of the top. So I read the book, but I didn't do the work because I had booked a couple of therapy sessions with her. So I go to Nashville for a week. And I remember going to the first session, and I had to answer all of these questions. Fascinating. So I get there, and she talks, and we do therapy for a while. And then she has me lie down and she says, okay, this is how you're going to breathe. And she tells me, and I'm looking at her like this. She goes, I said, I'm going to breathe like that for how long? And she says, no, I promise you won't hyperventilate. I go, yes, I will. And so long story short, we go through the whole thing and we're done. And I'm going to sit up. She goes, no, you're not. No, you're not. Stay down. And she had me lie there on my side for probably another solid 10, 12 minutes talking to her. And then she said, okay, now you can sit up slowly. I sat up. I was drunk as a skunk. I was like, what have you done to me? And she said, it's probably the first time your body's ever been 100% oxygenated. Fascinating to think that most of the time, even she said some top athletes a lot of the time function on about 30% oxygenation.
Wow.
And I'm an ex-professional, collegiate professional athlete. And I'm thinking, is that possible? Did I really do that?
Wow. Yeah, that's wild. Breath work is powerful.
It was. Even after I came back to Fort Lauderdale, we did some therapy breath work. And how we did it was I would set my computer up on my desk and I would put a mat on the floor because she always wanted my pillow on her head so she could see me. And that's how we did it. It was really quite fascinating.
Yeah, there's so much that so many people that we can get connected to even through video and be able to do sessions and things of that nature. It's so cool.
Are most of your clients over Zoom or are they mainly in person?
I would say 99% of what I do is all online. I just leave room for the 1% in case, like, there was one time I had an eye appointment. He's like, oh, you're a healer. So we're done with your eye exam and we still have some time for my next client. Will you do a healing session for me? And I was like, sure. Now you can be the patient and sit in the chair. And so that was really cool. But yeah, and we also live in a military installation. Who knows when we get orders. And so, it's just, and it's so much easier. It gives me so much freedom to be able to create my own schedule, not have to be here or there, and create it around my boys too. So yeah, everything that I do is online. And plus it doesn't restrict me for just this area. I'm able to work with people all over the world, which is awesome.
How old are your boys?
15 and 11.
Got a teenager. How's that going?
Yeah, that's great. It is, he's been through a lot. We've been through a lot with him. He's great. He does teenager things, has made some dumb decisions as teenagers do, but that's growing. We've been through quite a bit with mental health struggles with him. For about 3 years, he was suicidal. He's doing really amazing now. And we're so grateful, but yeah, like, wow, having a teenager is a ride.
I got on a Zoom the other day with a lady that I had met briefly on a networking event. And I said, hey, Shoshana. She didn't even say hello. She leans into the Zoom and she goes, oh my God. Just like that. I'm sitting here thinking like, what the hell, right? She says, what you taught me the other day, I came home. I wish I'd known that 10 years ago when I was talking to my children. I went and had a talk with my daughter. And she was the third person in less than 2 months that said, would you please teach a course on that? Like, I don't even have kids, but I'm really good at effective communication.
Yes.
And would you be open to a tip?
Yeah.
Okay.
Me? Yes. Yeah.
So one of the things I teach and train on in empowering questions is that an empowering question never, ever, ever starts with the word why, ever.
Yeah.
Why brings in, that, right? Brings in defensiveness, brings in the ego, which brings in emotions. And so people always ask me to give them a story and explain that. So my quick story is I was in 7th grade and I had 5 A's and a B on my report card. I couldn't wait for my daddy to come home, right? So I give him my report card. Now I was in the deep South. Florida is not the South. Louisiana. No. Louisiana is the deep South, right? Yeah. My dad looks down his nose at me and he says, now, Carol, why'd you get a B? Well, what do you think I did? I got defensive. I'm like, but dad, I got 5 A's. He looked down his nose at me again and goes, that is not what I asked you. Why'd you get a B? Then I used my older brother as my defense. I go, but David got 2 C's and a D. Right? And so my dad looks at me And he says, we expect a lot more out of you, young lady.
Ooh.
Now, how I heard that as a child, think about this. I heard that as I had to be perfect to earn love.
Mm-hmm.
It impacted me for decades. I
Mm-hmm.
overgave, over-delivered in relationships, didn't have any boundaries, didn't get my needs met, always trying to earn love. In
Yes.
corporate America, right, became a workaholic, almost to the point that it destroyed my health, trying to earn that love until I learned how to be the queen of reframe and reframe it. But I teach people, if my dad had asked me an empowering question, you and I probably wouldn't even be talking today. My life would have been completely different.
Yeah.
If he had said to me, Carol, what one thing, because they're specific, could you do differently next semester because they're time bound to improve upon that grade? I wouldn't have felt shamed. I wouldn't have felt less than. And if I'm allowed to think of the answer, I'm much more likely to go do it, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've had three sets of parents, actually 3 wives in the last 2 months. Would you please? She goes, I keep telling my husband, stop asking the kids why, because what happens? You get into an argument, right?
Yeah.
You just do, because the
Yeah.
emotions come up. And she says, but Carol, her children are younger than yours. And she goes, but Carol, my children always ask me why. I said, of course they do.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know how to articulate the question to get the answer they really want.
Yeah.
Children are the prime example that asking why doesn't get you that answer.
Yeah. I don't know. Ask the Echo Dot or go Google it.
Google's great, right?
Oh, and I love this. And it's also like we tell hubby to stop asking that. What are they? They're going to get defensive as well. And it's very much like, I love that reframe. It's so good. And it's also, also works on husbands.
Totally. Well, empowering questions, they're not just about trying to get understanding somebody else. Oftentimes we get to use them to understand ourselves.
Yes.
Like I had this one lady, part of a husband and wife team, and going through some challenges. And so I said to her, every day, set the intention every day. I want you to say this out loud to God and the universe 6 times a day after you set the intention, and then go right back to what you're doing. Your job is not to figure out the answer because it's outside of your jar.
Mm-hmm.
So what I had her get up and do every day, set the intention, and she says, what one thing that I'm not doing today that if I were to do it would show my husband how much I truly love him right now?
That's beautiful. Yes.
Opens the door to possibilities, right? To things we haven't thought of, as opposed to saying, well, he should just know I love him.
Yeah.
Really?
No.
How come?
Right?
Yeah.
And I love this. And I also, it's like playing in the field of possibility.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And something too, like, feeding off of that is, where is it that I'm expecting other people to give to me that I'm not actually giving myself as well?
Great question.
Yeah.
Right? Because we teach people how to treat us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. Like, how can I feel full? Even though I'm not like, fill your cup. I'm not like a huge fan of that phrase, but like truly, like, how can I fill my own cup so I feel full and everything else gets to be overflow? It's all abundance and extra from there.
Yep. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Well, I hate to say this, but we're running out of time. I want you to tell people who your ideal client is and how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah. So my ideal client is healers, lightworkers, and soulpreneurs. Whether you are launching, relaunching, or expanding your healing business. So that is me. I am the healer's healer. I'm here to support you in that evolution. I'm most active on Instagram at XO_Kristen Jones. You can also find me on my website, andsherises.com. And so, yeah, slide into my DMs or shoot me an email. Let me know what you loved about what we talked about. I love to have conversations and connect with people.
Awesome. I'm not a big Instagrammer, but I do have consistent followers on Facebook that are light workers and energy workers and healers. So perhaps we can bring you on and interview you on my show.
Yeah, that would be so much fun. I'm also on Facebook. Not as active on it, but like Instagram, I'm always on like stories and stuff. But Facebook, I do have a presence there too.
Awesome. You have been such a blessing. Thank you for coming on the show today. Let's stay connected. Everybody, if you're watching this on #replay, reach out to Christian. Let's get everybody healed. Like what Christian Michelson says, let's get the whole world coached. Let's get the whole world healed. That would help too, right?
Yes, love it. Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Absolutely. I had a blast. Everybody come back next week. We'll have more guests. This has been Carol's Courage to Confidence segment of the Intuitive Entrepreneur Show. Until next week, blessings to each and every one of you. Take care.
The Intuitive Entrepreneur Show is hosted by Max and Janetta Jones and is brought to you by Life Coaching Today magazine, empowering your health, business, community, and life. This has been a production of True Awesome Life Productions, who asked, what does your true awesome life look like? Start that journey today at trueawesomelife.com. For more information on this or past episodes, go to the Intuitive Entrepreneur